Communities in Hela lost as aftershocks continue. ICCC speaks up on plans to police monopolies. And the PEA cries foul over late public service salaries.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Thursday's news. Communities struck by the 7.5 magnitude earthquake in Hela province remain confused as aftershocks continue. Despite the arrival of national disaster officers in Tari yesterday, many remain traumatized. Many say authorities must respond to evacuate those in rural areas who remain buried in landslips and need humanitarian assistance.
The aftermath of the 7.5 magnitude earthquake is evident all across Hela province. National Disaster Office Director Martin Mose arrived yesterday to assess the scale of damages done. The massive quake was extraordinary and caused damages worth over $500,000. Some locals have begun rebuilding what has been destroyed. Many communities remain in doubt and need assistance. Aftershocks have been frequent since Monday.
This person come up and the big place used to come up in Hela. Now 4 days now, 4 days. Even a come up one time or and come up how much meeting close to almost 1 week now. 1 week. So this time big person in Hela.
The disaster team will be visiting all affected areas to compile reports. Director Moses says more work needs to be done and authorities need to work together.
And the place was totally devastated, upside down. So no, I think it's going to cost a fair bit of national government budget now to restore this one.
Many infrastructures were destroyed, especially roads and electricity. Most schools have been suspended and health services closed. Local authorities say the number of casualties remain unknown, with rescue missions yet to begin.
We will do, and as Prime Minister has given the assurance, our priority now is to bring back essential services like roads, infrastructure, power and communication, and possibly medevac if where needed. After that, we will sit down and plan for the restoration exercise.
Telecommunication was restored yesterday. However, access to rural areas remain difficult, with most roads damaged. Air transport is the only mode of transport at the moment. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Kutubu Local Level Government President John Kila is urging the government and authorities to help affected areas hit by the earthquake. President Kila told EMTV News people from Kutubu Lake have moved to Pimaga Station following recent landslips and aftershocks. He also confirmed 6 deaths, 3 of them children. Mr. Kila said most food sources have been destroyed and relief must be delivered in the next 2 days. He says people are anxiously waiting for relief. Mr. Kila also warned that if nothing is done, locals have threatened to move to the Moro camp and seek assistance. 18 ward councils make up the Kutubu local level government. The PRK Mendi Muruks will organize disaster relief fundraising for those affected by the earthquake in Southern Highlands province. The team will have an awareness barbecue at Apex Park at 4 Mile, Port Moresby this Saturday. Southern Highlanders and friends are invited to attend and show support in cash and kind. Muruks team chairman Pastor Isaac Joseph says a disaster relief account will be opened and the relief assistance program will be extended to Hela, Enga and Western Province as well.
I just lost the house, but I got another house in Moresby to live in. But what about that mother, that father, who's got just one home, that widow who's got just one home, who lost her home, and that one child in Tari? See, sometimes we go to the social media, we talk about government, what are you doing? This corporate institution, action, what are you doing? I know they got their obligation to help their people, but what are we doing as citizens of Southern Islands? Do we sit back and complain? Or do we look at our hands? What do I have?
And in a statement just in, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has announced an immediate state of emergency for disaster areas in Hela, Southern Highlands, Western and Enga provinces. The National Executive Council has further approved 450 million kina for relief operations and to restore services, as well as the formation of an emergency disaster restoration team and the establishment of a restoration authority. The Prime Minister said it is an unprecedented disaster in the Highlands region and the appropriate response is underway by the national government. An emergency disaster restoration team led by Dr. William Hamlin as the emergency controller will now manage and coordinate all restoration activities working with provincial authorities. The emergency disaster restoration team will be supported by the Department of Works and Implementation and all other relevant government agencies. Cabinet has further approved the establishment of a restoration authority that will manage long-term reconstruction efforts over a 4-year period to fully restore normalcy. An emergency session of Parliament will be convened for the presentation of legislation that will establish the Restoration Authority, with the date of the session to be announced by the Speaker of Parliament. Moving on, Day 6 of APEC SOM1 lead-up meetings had a number of continuous discussions on human resource development, market access, electronic commerce, the health working group, and the beginning of workshops on information sharing and merger control regimes. Discussions today centered on private monopoly and merger control regimes used by economies. ICCC Commissioner Paulus Ein led the talks.
Day 6 of APEC SOM1 meetings at Stanley Hotel began with a workshop on information sharing of best practices on the merger control regime used by APEC economies.
Thank you for giving the ICCC the opportunity to host this workshop. This workshop, the agenda is merger control regime in Papua New Guinea. As we all are aware, the ICCC is the competition watchdog of our country. And we've had the provision in the ICCC legislation that allowed for non-voluntary provision, and that provision has allowed many of the companies are now becoming private monopolies in the likes of some of these countries companies that we experience in this country.
Independent Consumer and Competition Commission CEO Paulus Ein said what PNG hopes to get from these workshops is a provision to monitor large companies who can buy off competition and have their acquisitions monitored by ICCC.
Topic to address this bit of legislation or provision in the ICCC Act, so that we have a provision where it addresses this concern about non-voluntary provision. So we're gradually moving away by having a mandatory provision. So to have that provision, we also would like to gain experience from international experts and those countries that have similar provisions to share with us through this workshop, so that that will help our country going forward.
This provision discussions will assist PNG in a way forward for its energy and communication sector.
They are coming through IPP or PPAs arrangement where they produce generation, but then they come into the main system, PNG Power Transmission Line, and providing services. So there is a bit of problem in this industry, and we're looking forward to addressing some of this through some of the process that we are undertaking currently by reviewing the existing regulatory arrangement we have with PNG.
Ein said there are a number of participating economies' experiences that PNG can learn from.
Korea, Russia, so there's a good of experienced people in this room now. They'll be sharing their experiences and share their knowledge with us, so that this will help our economy going forward. So we're looking at a greater benefit to this country, because this will result in reducing monopolies in this country, especially private sector monopolies and major monopolies that we already have. So that has been the weakness we had in this provision in the legislation that has hampered us to successfully implement the competition policy.
Adelaide Xerox Curry National, EMTV News.
Over 100 small to medium business entrepreneurs turned up today for the One Talk SME launch at Hela. One Talk SME, which provides an innovative platform to empower local SMEs in all sectors, officially opened their center. This center will now provide a place for business opportunities and training.
Over 100 small and medium business entrepreneurs turned up today at the launch of the One Talk SME Center at Hela. It has a unique business concept with the aim to assist individuals by empowering them to do small businesses using their network of One Talks.
Over 500 farmers in Mosby now that are currently involved with PSC Poultry Solution. And what we do with PSC Poultry Solution is that we have suppliers when
Roslyn Willie is a chicken farmer who resides at Laloki. She said that Wantok SME makes it easier for her to do business and make profit.
Disla now mi pla kam lo launching lo disla company now nu pla ol miki len mi pla kam chet le ya na mi luki ose mi buy mi register one time hall na mi luki me mose kagaruk stock feed mose 88 kina na calm down na tu ol help mi pla lo delivery kai blo mi pla go free la house ose expense mi se lucy mem no gat.
With the center now open, the Wantok SME team is expecting many new members in the next couple of months. With more than 1,000 registered local SMEs engaged in the city, Wantok SME is providing individuals business opportunities and training.
We have over 1,000 members that depend on us. We can lower anything down because you guys depend on us and you'll be able to sustain us. We sustain you. We can invite them over down your price, no living. Now you can walk him.
Lilian Sopera Kinea, National EMTV News.
Also at the launching of the Wantok SME Center, the founder, Captain Bruce Paki, had a little surprise for guests attending and for his business partner, Bianca Tombe. EMTV News was there to capture Captain Paki propose to his business partner to become his life partner.
She's my girlfriend for 10 months, but we feel also we have him go big the way.
And congratulations to them. Here with Thursday's news, we go for a break and be back with more on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. There will be structural changes to how health and education services are delivered in the country. Speaking during the second day of the 2018 Leadership Summit, Department Heads Pasco Kase and Dr. Uke Kombra talked on changes that will encourage the delivery of quality health and education services.
Secretary Pasco, while highlighting many challenges the health sector faced in the last 5 years, also spoke on some success in terms of outbreak controls and improvements in health indicators.
We have malaria continue to be a success story. Malaria, prior to probably 5 years ago or 6 years ago, it was the #1 killer in Papua New Guinea, malaria. With a lot of monies from a global fund, we are able to bring down the deaths and incidences. HIV is considered a concentrated effort epidemic in Papua New Guinea and not a generalized epidemic as we earlier thought. So at least it's under control, but a lot yet needs to be done.
One aspect of improving health indicators is to build on the workforce of the health sector.
We have new schools in Enga. The old Enga has been rebuilt with the support of our own government and also the Enga provincial government. Also West New Britain, with the support of our West New Britain provincial government and the national government. The Boram East Civic Nursing School, that's also been established now. So processes are in place to get the new intake by mid-year or early next year. And then Simbu and one other provinces that are coming on.
In the education sector, Secretary Kombra says there will be major shifts in policy and curriculum. He touched on the government's TFF policy, which he said has given every child access to education, but now they are focused on improving its quality.
Now attention has to go now to quality education. So with 2.2 million children in school now, we have to understand that we have to make compromises with quality. Quality does not just come overnight. It comes all with investment, with hard work. So we have achieved the access. Now we all have to work together to address the issue of quality.
Like the health sector, the education sector will also embark on improving its workforce, and the Secretary spoke on plans to improve teacher training quality.
This we will be working on now together with the Department of Higher Education. Because recently the Cabinet has decided that the institutions of higher learning after post-grade 12 or after grade 12 will be transferred over to the Department of Higher Education. So over the next few months and years, we are going to work together to transfer these functions over. But in the meantime, we are going to work together to ensure that we will have some more controls on the establishment of teachers' colleges.
Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
Robert Kutapai has been elected as president of the Public Employees Association. He now heads a new-look team of national and provincial executives of PEA for a 2-year term. The results of the election of new PEA office bearers were declared today in Port Moresby. The Papua New Guinea Public Employees Association has elected its executives for a 2-year term. The results of the election were announced today by the PNG Electoral Commission. Following the elections, Robert Kutapai has been elected as president.
To all my assistant returning officers throughout the country, also did a wonderful job to deliver this election, PEA general election.
A concern for the PEA in recent times has been the decline in membership, which has been due to a number of factors. However, new president Robert Kutapai is confident that with a new-look team, more members can be encouraged to join the PEA.
Been a long cry for the members. The members want a change in the union. PEA is a vibrant union that existed for so many years as a large public sector union. And my win is to stand for the members.
In the interim, the PEA is focusing on bringing to government some issues which need immediate attention. Among them, the 3% annual pay increment for public servants, which they say has not been fully implemented.
At the moment, our bargaining power is too low. I'm at 6,000 compared to 23,000 possible members. I need to push the bargaining power so that when I talk to government, I'm on par with the government. So that's a challenge my new executive has now, is to drive the membership so that we can have that bargaining power to speak to the government and force our issues with the government.
The delay in salary payments for public servants throughout the country this week has not gone down well with the Public Employees Association. According to the PEA, the national government is solely to blame for this delay since it is not the first time this has happened. The PEA is calling for better management by those tasked to process salaries across the country.
We have a crisis in the government in terms of the financial cash flow of the country. We understand that. Who do we blame here? Who do we blame here? You cannot put it on public servants. Because the excuse they give us is that public servants are slack, inefficient. That's why we are in this deep hole here. No, you cannot point a finger at public servants. You're not looking after the public servants. You cannot get that. You cannot get efficiency. You cannot get commitment. You cannot get effectiveness. It takes two to tango. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. If you're not doing it for public servants, you expect me to do it for you. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to look at the public servants' issues now.
The Papua New Guinea Teachers Association National General Secretary Ugwalubu Moana is frustrated that provincial education advisors who are supposed to sign teachers' resumption forms are in Port Moresby. He said teachers resumed classes 6 weeks ago, but their resumption forms are not in Waigani as provincial education advisors are not in the provinces.
Of the 60,000 teachers nationwide, only 12,000 resumption forms have been signed and are at Waigani. The remaining 48,000 resumption forms are yet to arrive. National General Secretary Ugwalubu Moana is frustrated that education officers who are in charge of signing teacher resumption forms are not in the provinces.
The union is a bit frustrated over the manner in which we continue to talk about these problems, and we're not receiving any resolve over these issues that are frustrating our teachers. Firstly, our agreement is not settled. Secondly, teachers' leave fares are not been paid. Thirdly, we've exposed some teachers who were sleeping in the classrooms a few weeks ago. Nobody in the National Capital District is telling us what's happening. Fourthly, in our recent information and visitation in the provinces, we found that many teachers are not being paid. graduate teachers in 2017 and 2018 haven't been paid as I speak. We found that there are teachers who are teaching for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, haven't been put on the payroll. And let me put it this way. The current workshop being held at Match Resort this week between the Teaching Service Commission and the Provincial Education Advisors is a waste of taxpayers' money.
Moana says teachers will not be paid if their resumption forms are not signed. He said the deadline for teachers to submit their resumption forms is between this month and the next month, and provincial education advisors must be in the provinces to sign these forms. Mr. Moana said all these education workshops have not contributed to anything tangible in the past few years, and the PEA will be held responsible if teachers miss out on their pay.
That means that if the suspension, cleansing of the payroll comes to the teaching service in the next few weeks, thousands and thousands of teachers will not be on the payroll. Now, the very public servants who are supposed to be sending those forms to Waigani 6 weeks ago when teachers resumed are here in Port Moresby without these forms, and they're talking about it. It doesn't make sense to me. Completely no sense to me. The officers who are supposed to be bringing these forms to Waigani for teachers to be on the payroll are in Waigani, and there are no forms here.
Stacey Yalo, National, EMTV News.
Meanwhile, the PNGTA is also calling for an audit of teachers' payroll. The National General Secretary said PNGTA stands ready to discuss further with the Teaching Services Commission and the Line Department on issues as well as the intention to resume dialogue on the payment of teachers' outstanding payments from the years 2017 to 2019.
Mr. Moana says after the series of discussions between the Chief Secretary, the PNG Teachers Association and the Line Departments, the Teachers Association is open for further dialogue in relation to the arrangement on how to settle the outstanding teachers' pay from 2017 to 2019.
Meetings through the office of the Chief Secretary, we received the state's proposal that the agreement will be implemented by the state through 2018, 2019 and 2020. And the arrangement is such that 2017 outstanding will be paid throughout 2018 on fortnightly basis, and the 2018 outstanding will be paid in 2019, and the 2019 outstanding increases will be paid in 2020.
Moana says the teachers' proposal to schedule settlement in portions is not agreed to by the association.
This proposal doesn't make our agreement real, and it will have repercussions on it. Firstly, it may we don't want the payments to come in very little amounts of money every fortnight. We've signed an agreement in 2016, and we want 2017 to be paid in lump sum for our teachers throughout the country.
Mr. Moana has written to the parties involved in the dialogue to resume talks next week Monday. Meanwhile, he added that a reform for public service, especially the teaching service, is well overdue to improve service efficiency.
And if this implementation schedule is agreed upon, we will be denied of a replacement agreement for years ahead 2019. Thirdly, if you're going to implement it on fortnightly basis, you're going to be affected with the purchasing power of the take-home pay by way of inflation. And fourthly, you know, on a similar tone, you can see the tax repercussions will be so much on what is little that you are getting all over the place, spread over 3 years until 2020. This letter that we have sent to the Commission is basically asking the Commission that we want to talk about it again. We want the 2017 payments to be done on a lump sum, so that our teachers can feel some relief that the state is helping them.
Stacey Yalo, National, EMTV News.
A land-grabbing case being heard at the Leh District Court has been stayed to give efficient time for both parties to obtain and present the land title. Daniel Marika from Leh's Nawaib area was nearly evicted from their home following the sale of their block, which was done without their knowledge. They are working on obtaining the legal land title to fight for their home of more than 30 years.
The family's case was heard on Tuesday at the Leh District Court. The magistrate made the decision to stay the case, giving enough time for both parties to come up with the proper land title.
Both the complainant and the defendants to come up with the proper legal title for the premises before the court can resume this case.
Daniel Marika and his family have been living here for more than 30 years. This area belongs to his wife's family. His father-in-law, Saking Waga, obtained this block of state land in the 1970s and built the family home. Last year, the block of land was sold to a businessman without their knowledge. They later found out that it was his wife's youngest brother, Alois Saking Waga, who sold the property for 42,000 kina and has since gone into hiding. According to the family, Alois can't read or write and may not have understood the documents he was signing for the sale. After the magistrate's decision to stay the case on Tuesday, a group of people went to the family home yesterday afternoon.
Now only mobilizing tribesmen, now only come on them bush knives, only come on them all X, now all up ein. Now stop outside long family block premises.
Mr. Marika says a complaint will be laid because this act breaches the restraining order they obtained against the alleged buyers. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
Here with National EMTV News, we go for a break. When we come back, stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, a major gun retailer in the US will stop supplying rifles after the Florida high school shooting, which killed 17 people last month. The retailer, Dick's Sporting Goods, will also stop selling firearms to anyone under the age of 21. It's also revealed that the Florida shooting suspect, Nicholas Cruz, previously bought a gun at a branch of the store.
Class is now back in session at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
It was a relief to be back.
But even as they try to move forward,
we would like to move on with our normal lives. Today was a weird, strange, emotional day.
Students here know everything is now different.
In my Spanish class especially, because one of our students didn't show up today because he was one of the 17.
Grief counselors and therapy dogs were on campus.
I love the dogs so much. I'm sure that helped a lot.
Helping students find a new normal after 2 weeks that have been anything but. Students turning their anger into action, pressuring lawmakers and companies to make changes. This morning, Dick's Sporting Goods announced it will no longer sell assault-style rifles, and it will not sell firearms to anyone under the age of 21.
If the kids can be brave enough to organize like this, we can be brave enough to take these out of here.
Governor Rick Scott wants to harden schools with more police and bulletproof glass. And at an open meeting on school safety, President Trump called for more trained professionals to carry guns.
You can't just be sitting ducks, and that's exactly what we've allowed people in these buildings and schools to be.
The Fab Four have carried out their first royal engagement together. William, Kate, Harry and Meghan setting their charitable vision for the future and the philosophy behind their royal foundation.
They are the foursome who will be the principal force within the royal family for decades to come. And on stage together for the first time, they talked about their motivation. William said their task was to take forward the compassion and duty they'd learnt from their parents and grandparents.
Our job was to follow the example of those who'd come before us, hold on to the values that have always guided our family, but seek to engage in public life in a way that was updated and relevant for our generation.
Attention inevitably focused on the newcomer. Meghan Markle underlined the relevance of her agenda, talking about female empowerment.
You'll often hear people say, well, you're helping women find their voices. And I fundamentally disagree with that, because women don't need to find a voice. They have a voice. They need to feel empowered to use it. and people need to be encouraged to listen. And I think right now in the climate that we're seeing with so many campaigns, I mean, with Me Too and Time's Up, there is no better time than to really continue to shine a light on women feeling empowered and people really helping to support them, men included in that. I mean, it makes...
Meghan said she was looking forward to hitting the ground running after her wedding.
Yeah.
Sitting next to her, her future sister-in-law. So, how is it working as a foursome?
Working as family does have its challenges, of course it does. Everybody here, the fact that everyone's laughing means that everybody knows exactly what it's like. Look, you know, we're stuck together for the rest of our lives, so...
This is true. Togetherness at its finest.
Togetherness, yeah.
Together and seeking to make a difference.
It is something that frustrates us all, waiting in those long security lines at the airport or anywhere else. But what if there was a way to brisk right through without even showing your ID? CNN tells us about a new technology where all you need to show is your face.
Tens of thousands of people are pouring into the Mobile World Congress. The tight security can mean long lines and multiple ID checks, but some are allowed to walk right in just by flashing a smile.
That's it. That was nice.
They've opted into a facial recognition program developed by Canadian startup Mexia One. A few weeks before a conference like this one, you register and submit a photo. Then the artificial intelligence analyzes 158 points like bone structure, skin tone, your iris, and the space between your eyes.
People are going through our lines and they're high-fiving our operators because they're so happy how fast they're going through.
He says the technology is nearly ready for prime time, stadiums and shopping malls. There's even talk of bringing facial recognition to the London Tube. And soon it may be coming to an airport security line near you.
Eventually, I see that as being in 3, maybe 5 years, that will become the seamless traveler experience where you will not have to stop at all of those checkpoints.
So I've been standing here watching people come through the lines, and I thought it was going to be the people using facial recognition that might be frustrated. I'm actually seeing more issues with people using the badges, having to scan them over and over again, and they're the ones who look more flustered. Biometrics, including facial recognition, are now a billion-dollar industry. For companies like consulting giant PwC, there's big money to be made.
There is a lot of information that can be monitored based on the patterns or the behaviors of the people that can be identified through facial recognition. But we know that the potential is going to be enormous.
The potential may be huge, but privacy is still a major concern. Mexia One says it will destroy the attendee photos after the conference.
What we're not doing is maintaining a facial image of people that we're then comparing against the database of other things.
But legally, there's nothing stopping your biometrics obtained through facial recognition software from being sent to law enforcement or hungry advertisers.
With National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is up next. We'll be back with the details. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with boxing. 18 boxers took to the ring at the Lamana Hotel last night. These bouts, which featured 5 females, are lead-up matches to the Kokoda Challenge scheduled for March the 10th. The Kokoda Challenge will showcase fighters from PNG, Fiji and Australia as they prepare for the upcoming Commonwealth Games.
The first 3 bouts of the night featured 2017 PNG Games gold and silver medalist. It was very competitive, with even the female fighters displaying precision punching just as their male counterparts. Judging from their bouts, the potential for female boxers shining the ring is evident. In the men's bout, 13 boxers brought with them strength, power and class as they took the ring. In grueling encounters, their bouts were more competitive, which managed to keep the crowd on their toes. With great skill and talent showcased on the night, Tournament Director Dick Leary is thankful that the PNG Games has helped to uncover raw talents from around the country. This was the first of 3 fight nights, with the second fight to take place on the 7th of March before the Kokoda Challenge on March the 10th. The Kokoda Challenge will see selected fighters from Papua New Guinea, Fiji and Australia who have been chosen for the upcoming Commonwealth Games. PNG will be represented by Charlie Fuamakema, Thaddeus Katua, John Ume and one female, Laizani Perry Soma. The Commonwealth Games will take place from the 4th to the 15th of April on the Gold Coast, Australia. Godwin Eki, National, EMTV Sports.
3 females and 8 male athletes will represent PNG at the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in April. Triple gold medalist from the 2015 Pacific Games, Relly Kaputin, will contest the long jump and triple jump, while young Afure Ada will run the 100-meter and 200-meter sprints. Adrian Monagi will run the 100-meter hurdles, while Nazmi Lee Marai, who won the 100 and 200 meters at the recent South Pacific Mini Games, will also run these 2 events along with his teammate Wesley Logorava. National 200-meter record holder Theo Pinia will run only the 200-meter, and young Ephraim Lurkin will contest the 400-meter and 400-meter hurdles. 38-year-old Moen Bueno will be competing in his 5th Commonwealth Games and will also run the 400-meter hurdles. PNG's 2 field event athletes in the men's division are Pianel Richard and Deborno Paraka. The 2018 Gold Coast Commonwealth Games is only 34 days away. To Rugby League, and the PNG National Rugby League competition was given a further boost by SP Brewery with a sponsorship package of 400,000 kina. SP Brewery Managing Director Stan Joyce said the Digital Cup competition was the national competition promoting the code of rugby league in the country.
SP Brewery has maintained their commitment as the platinum sponsor of PNG's top domestic rugby league competition, the Digital Cup. SP Brewery General Manager Stan Joyce was on hand to sign the agreement and present a check of 400,000 kina to PNG RFL Chairman Sandy Saka. Witnessing this significant occasion was PNG RFL CEO Realtao Rao and Digital Cup competition manager Stanley Hondina. Being one of the first companies to have naming rights to the intercity competition, the SP Brewery boss expressed a great deal of pleasure being involved in the competition and bear witness to its growth over the years.
Players, the supporters, the officials and everybody enjoy the game of rugby league.
Joyce added that the intercity competition is an important platform for rugby league development from the domestic competition to the international level. PNG Rugby Football Chairman Sandy Saka said since taking over the competition last year to Papua New Guinea Rugby League competition, they are grateful for the support.
I commend SP Brewery and the team for making those hard decisions to have the vision to see opportunities and invest in dynamic new programs that have changed the landscape of rugby league in this country.
Saka further stated that back in the early days when it was the SP Cup competition, it brought together a routine program to investment in training programs.
The last 16 to 17 years has actually raised the standard of rugby league in PNG. Recently, with the introduction of the SP Hunters program, another dynamic visionary idea in partnership with the PNG RFL and SP Brewery has changed from semi-professionalism to full-time professional rugby league.
Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And we'll be back with more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby Union now, and after returning from the Sydney Sevens and the Hamilton Sevens, the PNG Pukpuks are straight back in training hard with a number of events coming up, including the Commonwealth Games and the HSBC Hong Kong Sevens next month. There will be no rest for this PNG outfit until they get there.
Middle of the park. Clement finds Rover.
After starting this year with strong performances at the Sydney Sevens and the Hamilton Sevens last month, the PNG Pukpuks look to make their mark again in Hong Kong later this month. And with the Commonwealth Games and Hong Kong Sevens happening within close proximity, the Pukpuk squad will be seeing new inclusions from a number of provinces in the country.
Thanks to the Melanesian Trust Services, they've sponsored our trip to the Fiji Mari Sevens here, so we got a warm-up tournament there where we can gauge our players and see who best fits for Hong Kong, which would be our stronger team because it's the qualifiers, and then we'll put another team for the Commonwealth Games, which is the following week after Hong Kong. There's 2 lead-up tournaments, if you want to put it that way, Marist and Hong Kong, but the Hong Kong Sevens is, for us, it's a big tournament for us, because if we win that qualifying tournament, we qualify for the full circuit. Yeah, so we qualify for about 10 tournaments around the world over the calendar year for 2018 to 19.
Of the events they will be attending, the Hong Kong leg of the HSBC tournament is the most crucial, as it will also be the qualifier for them to get into the world circuit. And training has been ongoing and strenuous, taking into account key improvement areas for the outfit. Though in these economic times, this national team needs all the financial help it can get. Coach Douglas Guys even made a general appeal on behalf of all the other sporting codes whose national teams have big events coming up this year and would need all the support they can get.
We'll be training well there, like I keep saying, the boys just need a bit of a support, and when I mean support, it's like we don't need we don't necessarily need the big money, or I think some boys should be recognized for their efforts, especially over the last 2 weekends in Sydney and especially Hamilton, beating France 35-0. I thought that was a big achievement, being a world super rugby power. It may be only sevens, but you put it the millions they pump into their programs. They were pretty disappointed losing to I don't like calling us minnows, but pretty disappointed. And I think what I'd like to see is a bit more recognitions of other sports, like not so much only rugby union, but I feel netball, they've got a World Cup qualifying tournament as well coming up. I think cricket had an under-19 World Cup recently. I think we should really look at a bigger scope of sports for all other sports in PNG moving forward. I think we've got potential to be a very great sporting nation. So yeah, we've got the athletes there. So that's what I really like for us Papua New Guineans to recognize.
Dinero Striker, National, EMTV Sports.
Still on rugby union, the PNG Palais have had their fair share of trials and are looking to better their next performance when they compete in the trials in Australia in 2 weeks' time. Coach John Larry told MTV Sports that training started last November, which brought them to the HSBC Sydney Sevens, and they are now back in training for the Brisbane trials as well as the Hong Kong Sevens.
Like the Pukpuks, the HSBC Hong Kong Sevens is crucial for the Palais as well. In an interview with MTV Sports, Coach John Larry spoke of upcoming events the Palais will be competing in.
We're looking forward for Hong Kong. We've been starting training since November. We are going to in Brisbane in next week's time for our trial match against some of the top clubs in Brisbane. And then we'll pick the final 12 to Hong Kong.
The team returned from the Sydney Sevens, nursing a few injuries, but have been recovering smoothly as training continues.
Some of the girls sport, but it's a challenge to all the girls. We've got 6 girls in Brisbane, 1 in Sydney to join us in camp. So it's a big challenge, but I have to look at the best to take to Hong Kong. I wanted to qualify for the HSBC. It's just only 4 spots, and we're really working hard for it.
Speaking of their improvement areas, Coach Larry said line defense, communication as well as a refresher on rules are at the top of the list right now. Coach Larry also echoed Pukpuk's coach Douglas Guys' concern on the need for more financial support.
The boys and the girls are still looking for sponsor. This is the main issue we are now looking at. It's just one of the things, just letting our program down. But I would like to say government and the business house to help us. It's a World Cup, where we're going to World Cup in US and Hong Kong. So.
Dinero Striker, National, MTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We go for a break. When we come back, the weather details for Friday.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Showers and thunderstorms expected all across the region. That is in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momase region, showers and thunderstorms expected in Lae, Wau and Madang. A shower or two as well for Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, fine, but some thundery showers expected later on for Lorengau, rain and showers for Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul as well as in Kimbe, showers and thunderstorms for Buka. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, showers with thunderstorms, rain and showers expected over the next 24 hours for Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabag.
Were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, a reminder again, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has announced an immediate state of emergency for disaster areas in Hela, Southern Highlands, Western and Enga provinces. The National Executive Council has further approved 450 million kina for relief operations to restore services, as well as the formation of an emergency disaster restoration team and the establishment of a restoration authority. An emergency disaster restoration team led by Dr. William Hamlin as the emergency controller will now manage and coordinate all restoration activities working with provincial authorities. The emergency disaster restoration team will be supported by the Department of Works and Implementation and all other relevant government agencies. An emergency session of Parliament will be convened for the presentation of legislation that will establish the Restoration Authority, with the date of the session to be announced by the Speaker of Parliament. And that's it for today, Thursday, the 1st of March 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.